Podcasting from Hartford, you're listening to the Connecticut Scoreboard Podcast, your place for all things Connecticut sports. And here is your host, Jared Cutler.
So, CJ, I guess the best place to get started here, and this is what I like to do with everyone who comes on the podcast. You've been with the Norwich minor league baseball team here for quite some time. Why don't you, for those who might not be as familiar with you, why don't you just take us through your career path a little bit and how you ended up joining the team here in Norwich?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Jared. Thanks for having me on here. This will actually even be my 25th year in minor league baseball. So 2020. Started out as an intern in 1995 in the Expos organization for the Vermont Expos and New York Penn League. And then learned a ton that internship year. And then a couple years later became the assistant GM in March of 97. And then was named their GM of the Vermont Expos in June of 2000. And then at that point, I think I was the youngest GM in the country. I was 25 years old. And then was their GM for 10 years. And then after 2009 season is when I decided I was looking for a new challenge. And that's when I got a call from Miles Prentice, the owner of our baseball team, the managing partner. And he asked if I'd be interested in coming to Connecticut and help relocate the franchise. So that was late 2009, early 2010. And that was the start of my baseball career in Connecticut.
So you talk about being a GM of a team at 25 years old. What was that like from your perspective? You know, at such a young age, you know, being a GM of a minor league team.
Yeah, well, it was a ton of fun, but it was also really nerve-wracking and very scary all at the same time. So it was, it was just a great challenge. And, the owner at the time, Ray Pecor, was a tremendous individual. He basically handed me the keys to the kingdom and said, here you go. And, so he gave me a ton of freedom to explore and learn and learn how to run a business and learn how to run a minor league baseball team and entertain fans and try crazy stuff and deal with the media and sell sponsorships. And so just a great learning experience. And can't thank those guys enough. I was with those guys for a total of 14 seasons, including my internship. So it's you learned a lot, and that facility was actually the oldest ballpark in minor league baseball. So the field itself was built in 1906, and the current structure was built in 1922. And so going from a facility like that to Dodge Stadium, which seats over 6,500 people, has 18 luxury suites, huge parking lot. It's just a much different facility.
From when you started in baseball, I think you said going on 25 years now, how has the sport changed from when you started to where it is today? And what are some of those big differences in the way the game is?
Great question. I think the biggest thing and one of the most challenging things now is actually getting fans to the stadium and actually marketing the franchise itself. That's probably our number one challenge is how do you advertise and how do you market? How do you get the word out for people to come and enjoy a night out at Dodge Stadium in Norwich? When I was with the ball club in Burlington, Vermont, back in the 90s and 2000s, it was really kind of before, the internet was used. It was really before smartphones. And so, it was a little simpler. I mean, you'd buy ads on radio stations and people would listen to the radio in their house, in their cars. And then you buy newspaper print ads, not really digital ads at that point, it was just print ads. And you take out some TV spots still. And so you'd advertise on network TV and some cable here or there. And those are kind of the way to help get the word out besides word of mouth. And now it's, we constantly battle, in our office on a daily basis on figuring out how to get people to the ballpark and how do we advertise our experience and our team.
Part of the thing I have to guess in advertising the team was something that you guys undertook this past year, and that was rebranding the team. Can you talk a bit about, what got you motivated to go through that rebranding process and then maybe talk about how that all went down?
Yeah, we ended up launching with our new name and logo of the Norwich Sea Unicorns. That took place on Thursday, December 5th. So it's still relatively new for us. The feedback has been tremendous. Obviously, social media is really, really good to get instant feedback from your fans, both positive and negative feedback. We like all of it. And it's also, allows us and creates conversations within our fans and within fan groups, and us being able to communicate to them, but also us observing in terms of how they're communicating with each other, which is extremely powerful. You can't get that off of an ad that you buy on the radio or a TV spot that you might buy on cable. And I think the rebrand was something that was a natural fit for us. When we got into the market in 2010, we didn't get into Dodge Stadium until April 1st, so on April Fool's Day, which is very apropos, which was a ton of fun. So we were working at the Holiday Inn for a month and a half or so before we were able to get the keys to the ballpark, and we got in there April 1st. And then at that point, we were just on full acceleration trying to get a franchise launched. Everything from hiring full-time staff to game day staff to figuring out what are we going to serve in concessions. And so the first year, we knew that we were going to kind of call ourselves the Connecticut Tigers. And then after that prior to the second year, we thought that we were eventually going to rebrand. And then that's when we realized that, hey, we should keep the Tigers name here for a while and just reinforce to our fans that we're not going anywhere and that we're going to be here for the long haul, because at that point, we were the third team and the third different name in that facility in a short period of time. That facility opened up in 1995 for the Yankees for their Double-A club. They were called the Norwich Navigators. Then after that, the Yankees left. They decided to change the name from Navigators to Connecticut Defenders. San Francisco Giants came in. And then from there, San Francisco Giants left to relocate to Richmond. And then we got in there in 2010 and became the Connecticut Tigers. And so, we didn't want to confuse the fans too much and have another name, a new name, only our second year into the market as well.
What has the feedback been like so far to the new name? I know you talked about the brutal honesty of social media. How's it been from your perspective and what you guys are seeing?
Well, I mean, it's been a ton of fun for us to read, because the different platforms have different feedback. Facebook we've noticed tends to skew a little towards the older fan. They tend to have they don't really like it as much, where Twitter and Instagram tends to be a little younger, and we definitely get a lot more positive reaction on those platforms. I think from a merchandise sales standpoint, it's been tremendous. We've now sold merchandise in over 40 states in the U.S. We're still selling a ton of merchandise. We're getting emails from people that love the name. They aren't baseball fans, but they're fans of narwhals and which is the unicorn of the sea. And so it kind of goes hand in hand. And so I think people are excited about it, and it's created a lot of buzz not only locally in the Norwich and southeastern Connecticut community and throughout the state of Connecticut, but also from a national basis as well.
You talk about the national reach that this has had, and I think this is a nice segue into one of the other big issues facing the team, and that's Major League Baseball's proposal that's been floating around out there about listing some teams to be eliminated, and the Norwich Sea Unicorns were on that list. Can you talk about that proposal that Major League Baseball has put out there and the impact that might have on your team?
Yeah, it's very alarming. We're supposedly one of 42 teams across the country that are on this list that basically Major League Baseball wants to eliminate, which is basically about 25% of minor league baseball teams across the country. So this is definitely larger than a Norwich, Connecticut issue or a Northeast issue, or even a New York Penn League issue, which is the league that we play in. It's a national issue. Basically, the long and short of it is the agreement between Major League Baseball and minor league baseball expires after the 2020 season, I believe, towards the end of September. And so basically, we're in the process of negotiating a new contract, a new agreement between minor league baseball and Major League Baseball. And it is still very early in the process, but what is concerning is that, they want to eliminate 42 teams across the country. And that means that they'd eliminate the teams that have a major impact on the community. They have a major impact on the municipalities that actually help pay for and fund and invest in money in those facilities, because most of them are owned and operated by cities or counties or states. So it has an impact on millions and millions and millions of people. So It's still very early on in the negotiation phase. One thing that we do know is we're obviously going to be here for 2020. Our hope and plan is that we're going to be here for much longer than that. In August 1st of 2019, we signed a 10-year lease with the city of Norwich. And so, our intentions are we're planning on being in Connecticut and at Dodge Stadium for at least 10 more years, if not longer.
How do you respond to Major League Baseball's argument that the elimination of these teams, will allow for higher salaries for players, it'll decrease the amount of travel they're doing, they'll have teams that are in closer proximity to some of the Major League affiliates? How do you respond and say that there are benefits to having a team here in Norwich and what you guys are doing at the New York Penn League level?
Yeah, the facility that we play in is outstanding. The facility is actually a Double-A facility. It was built in 1995 for the Yankees for Double-A baseball. And we're Single-A short season, so we start in June and wrap up in late August or early September. So we play 76 games in 80 days. So it's a lot of baseball and it's quick. But our facility is designed for Double-A baseball. The other advantage that we have is, we're really close to two major airports. So traveling to and from is extremely easy. You can fly out of TF Green, you can fly out of Hartford, and we're also kind of smack dab in the middle of two major media markets with New York City and Boston. So, we have a great facility. We have an indoor batting cage. We have an indoor weight room. We have 18 luxury suites. The city of Norwich this past summer installed brand new LED field lights for our players for a field, which is great from an energy standpoint, great from an environmental standpoint, and it's really good from a baseball standpoint because it's much brighter and easier for the guys to see the ball. They're in the process right now, getting ready to install brand new heating and air conditioning ventilation units in both clubhouses for both the home and away, which is strictly 100% for players' comfort. So the facility itself is in great shape, and the city of Norwich has already invested money into continuing to upgrade and repair the existing ballpark. So, so I'm not sure where it's coming from.
You talk about Norwich investing in this stadium, whether it's through the LED lighting or some of the other efforts you put in, outside of the obvious, and that would be having no team in the city. What impact do you think losing the team would have on the Norwich community?
Well, I think it'd be devastating. I mean, not only would you have a ballpark that would literally be sitting idle, it would basically wouldn't be used. We also do a tremendous amount from a community relations standpoint. Since 2010, since we got into the market, we've donated over $1.6 million to local charities, whether it be through monetary donations, charitable in-kind giving, to offering up Dodge Stadium to be used for events, for chamber events, for Relay for Life walks. There's a ton of stuff that our facility gets used for besides just 38 Tigers, or now Sea Unicorns home games. This past year alone in 2019, we donated $136,000 to the local community. We've also donated, in the past 10 years, $55,000 to a local food pantry in Norwich. So those are the things that wouldn't happen if there's not a minor league baseball team. This doesn't even take into account all the businesses that are impacted if we leave. Everything from hotels that we use for our team and for the visiting team, to restaurants, to tax bases, to the city of Norwich, to all the people that we employ. We employ about 150 people when we're in season, and those everything from high school kids that might be their first job working on concession stands, to people that are ushers, to working in a press box. So we have a major impact on the community, and that would all be gone.
Talk a bit about some of the political help and support that you guys have gotten. I know Senator Blumenthal was with you recently, and he commented that during today's day and age, he was actually able to get Democrats and Republicans together, all agreeing on something. And this is something that's impacting teams across the country. How important has that political support been to help get this out there for you guys?
The political support that we've received has been tremendous. Everything from Senator Blumenthal, he had a special press conference held for us in the city of Norwich on Friday, December 27th. That was huge. That got us a ton of national publicity. It really, I think, opened up a lot of people's eyes that, baseball is important to this country and baseball is important to the community. And again, it's not just for Norwich. It's for all the baseball teams across all the communities because, it might just be 42 teams on this list right now, but there's no saying that it could be more teams down the road here. So I think having Senator Blumenthal support us is great. Joe Courtney was one of the first people to help step up to bat for us. He was one of 106 congressmen and women to sign a letter that went to the Commissioner of Baseball. Our own mayor in Norwich, Peter Nystrom, he's been instrumental. He's definitely helping us lead the charge here. Governor Lamont, he sent a letter to Rob Manfred, the commissioner, and there's a response to that letter back to Governor Lamont. So, it's been, really, really tremendous in terms of the response from our local representatives and congressmen and women to our national representatives. And it's definitely, they're all going to bat for us, and they're definitely the all-star team.
Absolutely. So, CJ, we're all keeping our fingers crossed and hoping that we'll have baseball in Norwich well past 2020. But I want to wrap things up on a bit of a lighter note and give you a couple quick hitting questions. Baseball is known for the food. What is your favorite ballpark food item?
Like mine personally?
Yeah.
Oh, well, obviously a good hot dog is obviously the go-to staple. Hot dog maybe topped off with a Pepsi, or if it's a hot summer night, maybe topped off with a nice craft beer. That's one thing that we have at Dodge Stadium is we definitely invest and like to give our fans all sorts of different options for beverages. And so we do a ton of local Connecticut craft beer. We actually have a stand that's called the Hop Corner. So instead of the hot corner, which is normally third base, it's called the Hop HOP corner. And so we got great beer there. So I think probably the standard is hot dog, but we also are lucky enough to have Phillies, which is a Norwich, Connecticut staple, which is a Philly cheesesteak, and they were rated as having one of the best sandwiches on I think it's a Travel Channel, and so we have those guys in the ballpark, which are phenomenal. So that's one of my favorites. And then occasionally, since I'm from Vermont, I like to wash it down with Ben & Jerry's, which we have Ben & Jerry's ice cream at Dodge Stadium too. So got to go with cookie dough on that one, I think.
There you go. Got the full mix of food there. And I'll get you out of here on this one. Minor League Baseball in particular is known for having some pretty interesting promotions. Throughout your time in minor league baseball, what's been the favorite promotion of yours that you've been associated with?
I would say probably it was one when I was with the ball club in Vermont. It was back in 2003. We were the worst team in all of baseball, and so we started out as 0-8 to start our season in June, and so that's when I was still as my third or fourth year as GM, and just trying to stir excitement, especially early in the season. You want to make sure that people are coming out to the ballpark and they know that the team's back in town. And us being 0-8, we weren't off to a great start. And so what I did was I had our media relations director, Paul Stanfield, put out a press release on a Friday, and it was like Friday afternoon, and the headline of the press release was Expos GM dreams of a victory. And so it goes on to state that I would vow to sleep in the dugout starting the next night if the Expos lost. And sure enough, we lost that next night, and we lost again, and we lost again, we lost again. And with each loss, we'd add more members of our front office staff. And so the first night when I was by myself, I rolled out a little cot. So I had a little cot. I was in the first base dugout, and it's summertime, and mind you, this is the oldest ballpark in the country, and there's a cemetery in right field, and all sorts of weird noises are going. You can hear light towers creaking and cracking, and then so I started falling asleep. And then all of a sudden, I was startled about 15 minutes into my slumber, and I woke up, and less than a foot away from my head was this large skunk that happened to be running on the rail of the dugout. So I didn't sleep that night. And a bunch of birds came in at like 4:30 in the morning, 5 in the morning as the sun was coming up, and I went home, showered, went to work, and it was like that for about 7 long nights. And then eventually got so much publicity that the TV cameras were watching us sleep. So it's kind of like our own reality TV show.
Had the live cams going, yeah.
The live cams going. People are delivering us, coffee in the morning and newspapers. And then I think the highlight is probably when I was doing an interview with the NPR, All Things Considered, about me sleeping in the dugout. So it went global. The BBC picked up on it, and it was just a ton of fun, and it rallied our fans, and that's what minor league baseball is about. And at the end of the day, that's the number one thing. It's minor league baseball is about fun, nothing else. It's about having a great night out as an affordable entertainment option for a family in a safe environment, and doing good for the community that houses it.
Absolutely. CJ, really appreciate the time. Hope everyone listening out there goes and stocks up on some new Norwich Sea Unicorns gear and checks out a game this coming summer. We can only dream of baseball right now in the heart of winter, but it'll be back here before we know it. So, CJ, thanks again for your time. We really appreciate it.
You got it, Jared. We'll see you at Dodge Stadium this Sunday, June 21st. Opening day.
Thanks for listening to the Connecticut Scoreboard Podcast with Jared Cutler. If you like the show and want to know more, check out the podcast on Twitter at CT Scoreboard Pod, the host at Jared Cutler, and find us on Facebook at the Connecticut Scoreboard Podcast. Finally, if you enjoy what you're listening to, rate and review us on iTunes. Thanks again for listening.